Peace and justice for my brothers, for my sisters. Peace and justice for all mankind. Peace and justice for my brothers, for my sisters. Peace and justice for all mankind. Peace and love, truth and right. Peace and love, truth and right. Peace and love, truth and
Go. Just walk very slowly.
Right, we're on our way. 2006 back in custody. This is a silent procession, and we'll take this easy.
Right, if you're trying to keep it nice and big, it's a really diggy little steps. Pigeon steps, little pidgey ones. That's it, perfect.
love good, yes, my sister. Kind to your brother. Be good to your sister. Live good, yes, my brothers. Love good, yes, my sister.
My name's Stephanie Lightfoot Bennett. I'm here with the rest of the families dealing with deaths in custody and secure units and police stations. My twin was killed in Manchester in '92. It's 14 years. I've been doing this for 9 years, still trying to get a public inquiry into how he died.
For my brothers, for my sisters, peace and justice for all mankind.
Just move, man. Just move the bottom. Just get everybody on there. You're looking at. Move, you bumper clock.
I come here every year in the last weekend of October, and as you can see, this is getting bigger and bigger. The children are getting more and more. It's not something I can deal with. It's just to see all these kids. Hopefully, before Tony Blair leaves, he will do the decent thing as a last goodwill gesture of leaving his office and granting us all an inquiry as to what happened to our family members.
Do you know how many cases this represents here today?
About 150, 200.
That's the number of names on these placards.
And it's still growing. I mean, as we're marching now, there's another death in custody. We're running on average 1 death every 6 days in custody.
Now we take as long as we want. We wait a whole year for this. We take our time. They've got family, yeah? Why do they not think? They've got family, they've got brothers, they've got sisters, they've got fathers, they've got mothers. They're not any different from the rest of us, right? And time again, we come here, year after year, more and more people dying at their hands. Yeah?
The delegation is going to be crossing the road now to hand in this list to the Prime Minister. Any of you families want a list of this, you can get one. But look at it. Look at it.
It's longer every year.
Look at it. They're all lives. No one responsible for these lives. These lives don't mean nothing. Do your lives mean anything? Yeah. So what do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! When do we want it?
Now! How many names are on there?
There's well over 1,200. I can get the precise number for you if you want.
When our loved ones are dying at their hands, these people have blood on their hands. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
I'm the mother of Ricky Bishop. He was killed by a police officer in Brixton police station. No judge so far have got any justice. I'm still waiting for justice. And year after year, I'll be coming down here with all the other mothers and family that lost their children who was killed by the police. I'll be here next year and the year after. Searching for justice for our kids. That's one thing we can't get. England is not a place of justice. All they've got, a murdering police officer, murdering force, and a government that keeps them out of prison. The government should put all the murdering police, get them on trial and put them where they belong, behind bar. Who are the murderers?
The police!
Who are the murderers?
The police!
What do we want?
Justice!
Listen to this lady's story.
I am Mrs. Christy Oboro. My husband came to this country on vacation. He came on the 2nd of September. And on the 26th of September, he was murdered at the Vista building in Woolwich. He was murdered. They gave him chance to say nothing. They said they were trying to restrain him. He never committed any crime. He was not caught committing any crime. But my husband was murdered, and I'm left alone in this whole wide world. I came all the way from Nigeria to come and identify the body of my husband. He doesn't live in this country. He only visited on holidays, and he has been murdered. My husband has been taken away from me. All I have in the world has been taken. I want justice for Frank Ogboru. I want justice for my husband. I want the world to come to my aid and to my rescue. That justice will be done. Frank has been killed. He has been killed, and the murderers must be brought to book. I want justice for Frank and everyone that have been murdered by the police.
Now what do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now! No peace! No peace! No peace! No peace!
You know, they've made their recommendations. There's a lot of you here I've seen from the day I first started doing this. This march has been going now for 9 years. My brother Leon Patterson went to Manchester for the day. And at the time he was supposed to be robbing British home stores, he was on the phone talking to me. He was in police custody for 6 days. Nobody could visit him apart from a solicitor. When I went to the mall to identify my twin, he had over 31 injuries, where I had to say to the coroner, "You've brought out the wrong body." I didn't even recognise my own twin. It's now 14 years, and it's 14 years too long. I look out here and all I see is a sea of children, and I see pain. I'm a mother, and it hurts me because every year this group is growing and growing and growing. I asked Tony Blair one thing, to do the decent thing in his last few days of office, is just to give us what we want. We just want the basic facts of what happened to our families, how they died, the circumstances, what's going to happen to the officers that's responsible. All I can say is I'm sorry to see you all here, and I hope that we never see any more new people, and thank you for your support.
Right, this is your opportunity to tell these people you have to sit all year, right, with the pin, right, all year. You sit with a pin until October. So this is your opportunity. So I want everybody to open them out so that these people can hear you. So what do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. No justice. No peace. 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 No peace. No
justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
When do we want justice?
Now.
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 Justice.
No peace.
Justice.
No peace. We've all got names in our hands. Let's get them up. Shake them up. Justice. Now. Justice. When do we want it? Now. Think about it. What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it? Now. Lift them up. What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it? No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice. No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
And we're out here fighting for the lives that have been taken away. Enough is enough. When are the government going to do the decent thing? Someone stand up in this government with courage, with principle, and understand that we and our lives, each and individual lives, is just as important as any one of the cabinet. Now what do we want? Justice!
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
We're going to Parliament to let them know we've had enough.
Because they have never, ever, ever, ever been found guilty of murdering our loved ones.
Now what do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? No justice! No justice!
So what do we want? When do we want it? What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now. Justice. Now. Justice. Now.
Justice!
No peace.
No justice!
No peace. No peace.
I can't get no justice in this society. I work day and night to find my daily needs, but freedom is suppressed by another one's greed. Why should certain ones control another one's needs? It's rebellion, these kinds of action breeds. I can't get no justice under this system. I can't get me no justice in this society. I can't get no justice under this system. I can't get no justice in this society.
When we got police killing 5-year-old kids, when we got 14-year-old kids being killed in prison.
I got a knock on my front door saying my 14-year-old baby was dead. What do we want? Justice! When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now. Justice. Now. Justice.
Can't let's get these immigrants. 9 years of walking down here, and yet we still don't have justice. Now what do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it? What do we want? When do Here we have another family member grieving their loved one. Listen up. unexplained up to now. We're fighting for justice, and we're not going to let go. If they think they've taken this innocent soul for nothing, I'm going to fight. If it means my life, I'm going to fight for country. It's 2 years. 2 years. Almost 2 years. We haven't had anything from the government. The VPS have come and told us nothing. The decision hasn't been made. They say they don't have enough evidence. What evidence do you want when somebody has got 56 wounds?
Now then, here's another family member who's got plenty to say.
My name's Pauline Campbell from Cheshire. My daughter Sarah, aged 18, died 3 years ago in the so-called Care of Style prison. Those of you that are still seeking justice, I would urge you to keep up the fight, because last month, in a highly unusual move, the Home Office finally admitted that it had breached my daughter's human rights, and they have admitted liability for her death. It took me nearly 4 years, and to those of you here who are still struggling for justice, I advise you to keep up the fight and step up the pressure whenever you can. But all I can say is shame on the Home Office and shame on Blair's government that these deaths in custody continue year after year after year.
We have not finished, the fight is still going on. And with the support of inquests and organisations such as this that have brought us all here together, we will get justice. And we have to keep on fighting. Justice, justice for everyone who has lost their life in custody.
Justice for my brothers, for my sisters.